This is your one-stop shop for motocross news from around the world. And what a week it has been. Storylines aplenty emerged from the 14th round of 2024 Monster Energy Supercross in Nashville. And we will get into all of that on this episode of the Vital MX pre-game show. Of course, we will also touch on a couple of hot topics from the FIM Motocross World Championship because, remember, interesting stuff happens everywhere. First, this week, the biggest news. Ken Roczen is out of the remainder of 2024 Monster Energy Supercross. The crash that was seen around the world left him with a broken tibia, broken foot, and broken toe. Fortunately, no surgery is required on those injuries, although further evaluations will be done this week, just to make sure that all is as it should be. In more positive news, Chase Sexton is okay after his horrific crash in the 450SX main event. A rock cracked the throttle body, causing it to stick, hence Chase ended up in that position. He walked off under his own power, of course, and was even testing outdoors earlier this week, so it's not like he's had to take any time off at all. Unfortunately, his title chances are all but scuppered now, so there is that. Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki had a horrid time in Nashville. Cameron McAdoo, of course, crashed in time's qualification and injured his shoulder. McAdoo was also involved in a separate crash in the main event with Levi Kitchen.
After getting some x-rays and MRIs this week, we figured out that I ended up breaking my scapula and I have a partial tear on one of the muscles in my shoulder. The good news is that nothing requires surgery. All the ligaments in my shoulder are good. That was one of the biggest concerns for me. So that's the positive of it. Unfortunately, this is going to be the end of my Supercross season.
Kitchen hit the ground hard, managed to salvage a 14th place in the main event, but was in obvious discomfort with his ribs. Kitchen went straight to the hospital after the main event with what he suspected to be broken ribs, and although there is no official confirmation just yet, it sounds as though the situation is not as dire as it first seemed. 2 points is the deficit that he faces to RJ Hampshire. 2 rounds of 250SX West remain, of course. It's not all bad. There was some exciting news to come out of Nashville. Aaron Plessinger has re-signed with Red Bull KTM Factory Racing for the 2025 Super Motocross World Championship. It seems to be a 1-year deal, which is most interesting, because Chase Sexton's KTM contract is also up at the end of next year, as well as Tom Vial's KTM contract. So KTM will have a blank canvas to work with in a little over a year's time. It will be interesting to see what way they go. Remarkably, the Dutch Masters Championship, that's the national championship in the Netherlands, concluded over the weekend. Jeffrey Hurlings and Rick Elzinga were crowned the MX1 and MX2 champions respectively. Hurlings went 3-1 on the day, Roman Fevre went 1-2, so won the overall. The reason for Hurlings' third place in Moto 1 was he crashed in turn 1 and was run over by multiple riders. Given Hurlings' track record, it's actually somewhat of a miracle that he escaped uninjured. What else? Well, in England, the opening round of the Fastest 40 Championship was run at Foxhill, and that was won by Tommy Searle in the MX2 class and Conrad Muse in the MX1 class. Again, 2 recognisable names, so the results may be of interest to you. Race results are all well and good, but of course you want some of the drama, don't you? Well, Roan van der Moosdijk, who was formerly a part of the Fantic Factory Racing team, joined Team HRC after splitting from Fantic, and now, after 2 races with HRC, try and keep up, he has exited the HRC fold. A statement went out on Wednesday morning stating that they had mutually parted ways because the knee injury that Roan van der Moosdijk sustained when he was still a Fantic Factory Racing rider will require further attention, and therefore there's no need for him to continue as an active HRC star. It's thought that HRC will continue with Tim Geiser as their sole representative. Of course, their second rider, Ruben Fernandez, is recovering from a torn ACL sustained at round 1 of MXGP. And another little interesting tidbit for you, Andrea Bonacorsi of the Yamaha MX2 team will likely be moving to the MXGP team from round 5 on. Bonacorsi, a former EMX champion, is one of the bigger 250 riders, so despite the fact that this is his rookie season in the class, it seems that Yamaha have chosen to move him up to the 450 to replace the injured Maxime Renault and Jago Geerts. Bonacorsi has trained on the 450 before, he even raced it at the previous Motocross of Nations, so he is already quite capable on the bike. Look out for him to surprise when MXGP resumes next weekend in Portugal. What's coming up this weekend? Well, of course, all eyes will be on round 15 of the Monster Energy Supercross season in Philadelphia. Good news, the weather forecast looks quite pleasant, so expect press day to happen on Friday and expect there to be no scare on Saturday morning. Fingers crossed, of course, 2024 has a way of throwing a curveball in that direction. In Europe, round 1 of the Dirt Store British Championship will be run at the famous Ling circuit. That is as old school as you can get. Jeffrey Hurlings will be a wildcard there, so expect him to romp to 1-1 scores. That's all from us on the Vital MX pre-game show. We will be back next week to discuss the weekend that was and all that happened in the world of motocross.